You're inside the Mom Stuff Coffee Shop, a podcast dedicated to helping you get back up again when life seems to have fallen apart. I am your host, KK Smith, and today we have a good show. We're talking about the fear of failure. So let's get started, friends. Today I wanted to come in and talk about the fear of failure. The fear of failure is something I have struggled with my entire life. Now, there is failure, and we have to know that failure will happen. But we also have to know that we do not have to quit when failure comes. So I researched a couple of things about failure, and I wanted to share them with you because I think it would be so much food for your soul and so much fuel for your life. So why do we have the fear of failure lurking so much in our minds? We tried it and it didn't work. Friends, let me tell you, I have tried so many different things that did not work that I'm going to share with you today. Some of them seem so rather comical. I can't even believe I tried some of these things. I'm going to share something with you later on in the show that you probably won't believe, but it's all a part of my failing and fear journey. I think particularly with the fear of failure, we overthink the outcome. And we underthink the power that fear actually has over our minds. We underthink the power that fear has had in our life. So I'm not going to do it. And then we put up a wall of fear, a wall of thinking about fear, a wall of thinking about how many ways can this thing really go wrong if I just simply try. I think just thinking about that it'll be too hard is definitely a part of the fear of failure. Next is something that has captivated me in a way, and it is none other than we've just been operating in fear for too long. And the reason why we operate in fear so long is because what I mentioned earlier, we tried it and it didn't work. In retrospect, there are so many things I tried with a bold, robust attitude, and some things just did not work out. I have been knocked down with just that much force. One thing happened to me about a decade ago. It just totally shattered me in so many pieces, and the confidence I once had without fear is not what I brought into the next decade because it totally devastated me. I had been operating in that fear for over a decade. The fear that I operated in, it wasn't necessarily pertaining to the next thing that I was doing. So this is what I wanted to talk about today. Oftentimes when we go through an event in life, it could be a failure, it could be a bad relationship, it could be a terrible friendship, betrayal, what have you. It's just something that was so traumatic to us. We put it in our life's backpack and we walk down the street with it. We think that we need to carry this thing into the next season of our life. Sometimes we attach it to ourselves. Sometimes we become those setbacks, those failures, those fears. We're actually thinking that this is the platform that we need to leap from with our next try, with our next win, with our next effort. Friends, I found out along the way during these last 10 years that is further from the truth. Think about this. We're taking situations that have absolutely nothing to do with the present moment into our journeys, into our efforts. We are literally carrying so much baggage, not only from 1 year ago, 2 years ago, but sometimes decades ago. And we are interpreting that to be ourselves, to be our current circumstances. And this is why so many people never reach their full potential. So many people never reach their dreams because they're trapped into thinking that their last failure is going to be carried into their next moment. And this is what I wanted you to think about. The topic of the show is the fear of failure. And the next time you get back up again and try something, refuse to take your last failure into that moment. Refuse to interpret it as your own. Refuse to interpret it as yourself. Refuse to interpret it as who you are going to be. And that's what I finally had to learn, to disconnect the failure from my new beginning. It was something completely new, but I realized I had the same mindset. And that was the only thing that held me back. Not moving forward, but the mindset. So earlier I said I was going to tell you so many things I tried that just didn't work out for me. The first one I could remember, professionally, because life, oh my goodness, there have been so many failures in life. But the first one I remember professionally, when I first entered the beauty industry, I would sit down all day long. After I would write up something on a piece of paper and stick it on a car, it was an ad. It was telling people I'm open for business. These are my specials for today. Today we're going to do $15 waves. Today we're going to do $10 washing sets. And to no avail, no one came. I would sit in the chair and watch my coworker who had tons of clients. I would just sit in the chair after I had absolutely nothing to do. It was such a huge failure, just starting out as an entrepreneur. After I would straighten my products, check my inventory, clean some more. This was such a huge failure for me early on in entrepreneurship, failure that I had to walk through. And at the time, I didn't mind walking through it because I was just eager to be in the beauty industry. I really loved making people feel beautiful. I can remember when I was in school, I would go to people's homes to do their hair, a quick touch up, a quick this, a quick that. I would feel so empowered by empowering other people. So that was one of my biggest failures in entrepreneurship, and not only failing, but being able to get back up again and trying it because my life depended on it, my son depended on it. And I know friends that have tried entrepreneurship and they went on to have great careers, to have great jobs. They didn't sit around and wait on entrepreneurship. They became very successful without it. So failure looks different for different people. So in every aspect of life, there is failure. There's failure when you're trying to get there. There's failure while you're there. And there is failure after you leave. Failure will always be a part of growth. The next thing I'll tell you I tried during my teenage years, which you will probably find very hilarious, was being a rapper. I can remember my friend and I just spending hours and hours writing these rap songs. I absolutely love music. I grew up closely with music. My mom was a gospel singer. I absolutely love music from the time I was little. I absolutely love music. My little shoes, dancing in church. I love the sounds of R&B, of jazz, of gospel, of course. I just love music. So about around 12 years old, music would find me trying to be a rapper. And to my surprise, my sisters and I were separated when I was probably in maybe the 7th grade, and I went to live with my dad. Well, to my surprise, my sisters were forming their own rap group. So when we got together, when I became a single mom, I moved back up here with my sisters, and they were actually writing rap music themselves. So I took my songs and their songs, and we never made a group, but it is absolutely hilarious when we think about our creativity, the things we came up with when we dared to get rid of fear, when we dared to put fear on the shelf. And y'all, some of those songs were pretty good. Every holiday, every chance the kids get, they come home and they absolutely have a great time showing us our creativity, showing us what we dared to come up with when we decided to face our fears. Now, we never made it, but here's the lesson about this, the great lesson. When you decide to not make fear a part of the journey, you can not only create, but you can have a whole lot of fun with it, not being attached to the outcome of failure. So another aspect of failure is in parenting. I know there are so many parents out there that have did it the wrong way. You tried to do the prototype that you had. You tried to do it like grandma them and mama them, and it just didn't work for your children. Well, friends, I've had that experience with my own children. But one thing I agree with in parenting is definitely discipline. Discipline in your own way, but definitely discipline. I feel like a child needs structure, a child needs love, and a child needs to be shown the way. And this is where discipline comes in. So I definitely, as a parent, would not take out discipline. Furthermore, I think that I've made some mistakes in parenting along the way as well. Some of the biggest failures have been not understanding each individual child as they are. So we have 4 children and they couldn't be more different in their characters and their personalities. You find yourself trying to parent out of one prototype. There are fails in parenting, and failure is just to get back up and try it again. It's not to stop being effective in any area of our lives. Friends, I know some of you have been there and some of you haven't. Some of you have amazing resilience, and I admire that. But for anyone who has allowed fear to creep in and suggest that you quit, may I suggest to you that fear is fleeting. Fear means face everything and rise, or false evidence appearing real. It is the evidence that you have fallen or you have failed. It is suggesting that your entire life will be that way. So how do we break free from fear? As I mentioned earlier, there was a great sadness that happened in my life almost a decade ago. I wasted so much time circling this event in my mind over and over and over. It just seemed like I could not get back to happy. It just seems like I could not get back up again. No matter who I talked to, no matter what event I went to. I love going to events with my children. I love being present. No matter what I did, it just seems I could not get back together. And then one day, I decided I had been there too long. In fact, God spoke to me and said, "You've been here for far too long. You must get back up again." And friends, one thing I'll tell you that has been a gem in my life is whatever has happened to you, whatever your great sadness, your great disappointment, your great failure, to try to stop thinking about it and stop reliving it in your mind. I know it's hard, but one of the gems in life has been to live in the present moment, to really be in the present moment, to feel your present moment. What's around you? Where are you at this present moment? You're not back there. You're here. You're here with another opportunity to rise and shine and leave fear of failure behind. Whatever broke you into pieces, I want you to know you have the ability to get back up again. I've seen people become a fraction of who they used to be by a great sadness or a great failure. I've seen people regress and lose themselves in the situation. They begin to think that they are the situation. They begin to think that they are the failure, that they are the devastating event. But when you break free from that mindset, you can finally be free from the fear of failure. The next part about breaking free is realizing that you're not alone. One of the most liberating things for me was to realize that I was not alone in my circumstances. During this time, friends, I barely spent time on social media. I barely spent time engaging. I barely spent time, especially when it first happened. The first, I'll say about 3 to 4 years, I really felt alone. I really felt isolated. And when this thing happened, some of my closest connections completely disappeared, but some of them stayed, and oh, how I valued their friendship at that time. Friends, when people are going through something, make sure you find yourself being a friend. I valued the ones that understood, that walked me through my darkest hour. I certainly appreciated their friendship. And so realizing that you're not alone is how you break free from the fear of failure. Another thing that I want you to do is focus on a goal. I always wanted to become an author. And during this experience, it just seems like I had so much to share. It's almost like life had broken me wide open. And I was full of advice from my soul. And I focused myopically on finishing that book, even through my pain, even through my struggles, even through my darkest hours. So during this time, I'll tell you, I went from being wildly successful to losing most of what I had because of what was going on the inside. And this is why I really wanted to do this show, to help you break free from the fear of failure, the fear of pain, the fear of uncertainty, which is all wrapped up into the fear of failure. So towards the end, with me allowing myself to get back up again with the help of God, I began to focus on that particular goal. And when I poured all of my pain into a page, into my book, I realized that I did have an outlet. And I might have failed at some things, but how could I fail at being myself? And friends, that's the advice I give you. How can you fail at being yourself? You cannot fail at being you. You are you. And you are uniquely and wonderfully made. And so realize focusing on a goal will help us to break free of failure. Another tip I'll give you is you need to talk to someone. Now, whether that's a therapist, but I find a real friend can do the trick. Now, I'm not talking about a friend that can't wait to tell you, oh, I told you so. No. You need that friend that can empathize, give you loving advice, give you real advice, but loving advice. And that friend that feels like a big warm hug. And I know you can think about who it is right now at this second. That's the friend that you need. And you need them to be real, loving, empathetic. Friends, oh my goodness, you don't realize how therapeutic it is just for someone to understand you, just for someone to listen, just for someone to be there for the rough times, for someone to be there in the valley. So find you that great friend that feels like a warm hug. So the next topic I want to talk about is getting back up again, actually doing the work. Let's dive into some tips and tools that you could use to actually get back up again and get back into the game of life. The first tip I'll give you is to do one small task every week. Whether you have to plan out your daily goals, your weekly goals, your monthly goals, and even your yearly goals, make sure you're doing a task towards getting back up again each week. Make sure this task is moving you forward and not backwards. First of all, what do you want to accomplish? It might be a professional goal. It might be a parenting goal. It might even be a relationship goal. What do you want to accomplish in that particular area of your life? And maybe you could work on several areas of your life, not just one. Just make sure to stay accountable that you are completing a small task each week. However small it is a step towards accountability, a step towards your goal, and a major step towards facing your fear. A parenting goal might look something like this. I'm going to remove everything from my schedule on Saturday and spend time. We're going to watch movies. We're going to go to the park. We're going to do everything that he or she likes. Now, if it's an older child, I'm going to make it my business to have some serious life talks, some wisdom that I've learned along the way, and let nothing get in the way of that moment. It might be a professional goal. I'm going to sharpen my skill in that area so that I am next in line for that promotion. And if I don't get that promotion, I'm going to keep working on myself. It might even be a home goal. I'm going to organize my closet. Finally, I'm going to give away those shoes. I'm going to make a to-go bin. I'm going to do the best I can do in my home because I want to move forward without fear of failure, just being the best I could be. And friends, let me tell you that it's going to be so much food for your soul and fuel for your life, because once you get on the rhythm of completing a goal, making a goal, completing a goal, making a goal, once you get into that rhythm, you'll find failure has absolutely no room in your life, because you'll start turning your failures into lessons. The next tool I'll give you is to hold yourself accountable for the follow through. Now, if we're going to get back up again, really get back up again, we must be accountable. Even if we did everything wrong before, we must change the mindset into accountability. Accountability equals trust towards ourselves and responsibility. And responsibility leads to our goals. Being responsible for every action we take, even if it fails, is a great learning tool. I've learned that when I fail, and when I fail really hard, it's sort of like a learning tool. It's sort of like what not to do there, Or what could I have done better? And sometimes, friends, these life lessons are irreversible. But the good news is we'll have the tools that we need to move forward and to execute a better plan the next time. The next tool I give you, and this is simple, just refuse to give up. I don't care how long it takes. Just don't give up. If you stop, guess what? You'll never get there. But if you take it day by day, put one foot in front of the other, cultivating your efforts, awarding yourself for your efforts, instead of fear, you'll get there on God's time. Sometimes that time is quick, and sometimes that time is medium, and sometimes it's a long time. But if you keep trying, doing one small task, holding yourself accountable, putting one foot in front of the next, friends, you will get to your goal. The final thing I will tell you, and this has been my greatest strategy, listen up, prayer. Prayer is essential to our journeys. However, faith without work is dead. If we have a whole bunch of faith, but we're not working at it, we're not doing one small step, we're not holding ourselves accountable, and we're not trying to get back up again, it won't ever happen. But if we have prayer and faith, friends, this is a combination to win. Prayer, execution, and faith. Walking in that direction. So friends, keep going, keep being accountable, keep being responsible, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and by all means, keep praying. I'm KK Smith, and you've been inside the Mom Stuff Coffee Shop, a podcast dedicated to helping you get back up again in parenting, entrepreneurship, and overall life. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you find this podcast, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And remember, you can always celebrate wins and get back up again inside the Mom Stuff Coffee Shop.